Imagine standing here, surrounded by nature, with the ability to pull distant peaks closer, capture every feather on a bird, and isolate details that the naked eye barely notices. You need reach, you need clarity, and you need it without weighing you down. What lens could deliver that? Hey everyone, it's great to see you all again. Today I'm going to let you in on a lens that has become a staple to my photography kit, one of the most versatile telephotos I've ever used. And no, it's not some $2,000 powerhouse that weighs you down on hikes, but it can definitely compare when talking about image quality. Whether you're into wildlife, landscapes, or isolating details in everyday scenes, this lens can do it all. This is the Sigma 100-400mm f5 to 6.3 DG/DN/OS contemporary lens. Lightweight, versatile, and one of the best investments you can make if you're ready to take your photography to the next level. Now, I'm not much of a gear review channel, but this lens has truly changed my photography forever. So let's start with the basics. The Sigma 100-400 is a compact telephoto zoom lens designed for versatility. It's part of Sigma's contemporary line, which means it's lighter and more affordable than a lot of other telephoto lenses, without sacrificing optimal performance. This lens has a variable aperture of f5 to 6.3, which keeps it lightweight, and this one in particular is compatible with Sony E-mount, full frame, and crop sensor cameras. But let's talk a little bit about telephoto lenses in general. Why are they so important? For starters, they allow you to get closer to your subject without having to physically get closer. Whether it's a distant mountain, a bird in flight, or even isolating textures in a forest, telephoto lenses help you tell stories that wide-angle lenses simply cannot. With a telephoto lens, you're not just observing, you're immersed in the moment. You can capture details and perspectives that elevate your photography to a whole new level. But not all telephoto lenses are created equal. Some are heavy, bulky, and cost a fortune. On the flip side, with the Sigma 100-400, while the body is mainly plastic, it feels sturdy and professional. It's also weather sealed at the mount, so light rain or dust won't slow you down in the slightest. Perfect for outdoor photography. The switches and buttons on the lens feel professional, and the focus style is smooth, but it doesn't feel like you'll knock it out of place. One of my favorite, albeit simple features when carrying this with my Peak Design camera clip is that you're able to lock the lens so the barrel doesn't extend as you're moving. And at just 2.5 pounds, this lens is extremely light for its range. Compare that to something like a 100-400mm from Canon or Sony, which can weigh significantly more. It's perfect for long hikes or wildlife treks where weight matters. This lens is 3.49 inches by 7.48 inches and 9.83 inches at maximum extension. And it weighs about 40.8 ounces, which is great compared to the Sony 100-400's 49.6 ounces. This lens also comes with 4 stops of optical image stabilization. That means handheld at 400mm, you can get sharp shots. And trust me, it's not easy with a telephoto lens. Diving into probably the most important topic, the performance, this thing can excel in both landscape and wildlife photography. At 400mm, you can capture details without having to get too close and scaring your wildlife subject. And if you're using a crop sensor camera like the Sony a6000 line, you're effectively getting up to 600mm of reach. That is insane for the price, especially if you consider the image quality, which we'll get into a little bit later. And for landscapes, you might not think of a telephoto lens being ideal for when you're out on the field, but if you've watched my channel for any period of time, you'll know that this has become my favorite lens to pull out. I cannot go on a photography adventure without pulling out my Sigma 100-400 telephoto lens at least one time. You can isolate details, compress mountains, or create unique compositions you just can't with a wide-angle lens. It's also plenty fast enough to capture action. Whether it's a bird in flight or a sports event, the Sigma keeps up. Now for what I'm sure all of you have been waiting for, let's talk about the image quality of this lens. At 100mm, this lens is tack sharp in the center, and even at 400mm, it holds up surprisingly well. Sure, the corners are a bit soft, but for most situations, it's more than good enough. I've used this lens in a professional setting many times, and it holds up to any other lens. Compared to some more expensive options, it may be slightly less sharp, but that is if you're really pixel peeping. But how about chromatic aberration? Well, it is barely noticeable. And if it does pop up in extreme conditions of contrast, it's really easy to fix in post. And let's not forget about the bokeh. While it's not as creamy as a prime lens, obviously, it's smooth enough to separate your subject beautifully. At f5 at 100mm and f6.3 at 400, it is plenty fast for wildlife or portraits when trying to isolate your subject. So, who is this lens for? If you're into wildlife or outdoor photography or even sports, it's a no-brainer. It's also perfect for those who want to travel light but still want a telephoto reach. The Sigma 100-400 doesn't just save on weight, it'll save you a ton of money in the long run. At under $1,000, you really can't get a comparable option at this price point. Of course, no lens is perfect. The f6.3 aperture at 400mm is obviously not ideal for low light, so you'll need to bump up that ISO if you're in darker conditions. Another downside that I personally haven't had much of a problem with is that it doesn't have a tripod collar. So you're not able to attach the telephoto lens straight to the tripod, you actually have to attach your camera. So it can be a little bit off balance, but once you get used to it, I found it's not that big of a deal. At the end of the day, the Sigma 100-400 is an absolute steal for the price point. It's sharp, it's versatile, and it's lightweight. And most of all, it's not nearly as expensive as the other options available. So let me know in the comments, have you used this lens before or something comparable for a different brand? And how have you liked it so far? Other than that, thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you all learned something from this week's video. And if you didn't already know, I started a Discord server for the entire community to come together, share photos, and give feedback. And then at the end of every month, I'll be selecting one of your photos as a monthly contest winner. Other than that, if you could subscribe to my newsletter for all sorts of updates, and then for vlog, blog, and other video updates, if you can like and follow my Facebook page. Other than that, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.